Hey there, and welcome into this general collective reading. So what's funny is I was doing a reading for fire signs, and I was having a really hard time sort of getting what the message is, downloading what the message is, and yes, I was getting all kinds of signs and synchronicities, but actually speaking them, and being able to articulate myself, definitely a struggle. So yes, we're in Mercury retrograde. Yes, I'm heavily impacted by Mercury. But it just felt like the message wasn't the clearest, and I don't want to share that and confuse people. So I went ahead and started over. And rather than just focusing on the fire signs, I think this will be a general collective message, okay? So for whoever comes across it, we're going to go ahead and do the typical 3-column spread, where we look at the opportunities for the week, the challenges potentially coming towards you, and then how we can overcome those challenges. We're going to use a variety of decks. As you can see, I've been moving them out of the way, but I've been shuffling them and working with them. What's really interesting though is it feels like there was a shift in the energy, regardless of Mercury in retrograde. For me personally, it feels like there's a shift in the energy, and it so much so that as I've been shuffling these cards, I feel like I need to flip any cards that are in the deck upside down, in the deck reversed. I feel like I need to flip them back over. I feel like everything needs to be right side up again. And that's not normally how I do things. I let the cards, come out in whatever direction they may. But it feels like there was some sort of milestone reached that caused, like, a threshold was passed, and it caused a shift in energy, and that requires a sort of resetting of the decks. So really sort of interesting message, interesting download. What's also funny about that is, so there you go. So anticipation in reverse, I feel like I need to flip that. And then what else is that? Safety in reverse, I feel like I need to flip that, so that, these cards come up right. Very, very interesting. So maybe you have also sort of felt a shift over the weekend, because that's what it feels like. It was like yesterday or the day before. But enough chatting about that. Let's go ahead and see the strongest energy that wants to come out for whoever might come across this message. Whoa, okay, that's too many. Yeah, the other thing that I was feeling earlier when I first started that first message was a lack of alignment. Like there were still some loose ends that needed to be tied up and fixed and cleaned up and aligned. Wow, okay, so the way that just came out was interesting. It wanted to come out of the deck. The wind sort of blew it as it lifted up and flipped it. So we have hope. So that is your opportunity this week, is for hope of some sort. And what I get from this is a hope for a transition or a transformation or a metamorphosis in the energy. Okay. And what I also get from this is the blue is really sticking out to me with this butterfly. And usually the blue represents the throat chakra, right? But what I get from this in particular is actually the crown chakra, and I get like labradorite, blue flash labradorite, really strong. So there's a sort of magical, intuitive knowing that's allowing you to have this hope. And your opportunity this week is to sort of be taken by the wind with that hope. Be taken by the wind on that magical, intuitive knowing. And it's funny because it's been pretty windy where I am, but the wind sort of just died down, or it stopped, or it's not as strong. But the reason I say be taken by the wind is butterflies, their wings aren't made of metal and they're very soft. And so if a strong breeze comes, it just sort of has to like pop around. And that's what I'm really getting from this, is you have this intuitive insight, you have this intuitive knowing that things are shifting, things are changing, things are transforming for the better. And your opportunity is to sit in that energy and sort of, like I said, ride the wave. Okay. Being called to switch decks. So this was the Woodland Wardens. Now I'm going to go ahead and see what comes out with the Sacred Forest. For whoever needs to see this, please. What are the challenges? Challenging energies coming towards hope. Protection in reverse. Courage. Okay. So perhaps you don't feel like you'll have the backing that you need. Interesting. What I just sort of saw was the idea of like this butterfly in its chrysalis and, you know, in its little cocoon thing. And I don't know which butterfly in particular I'm thinking of, but its cocoon is like, has a very distinct ring around the top of it. And it's sort of like green and silvery and metallic. And it hangs on by like a little thread to whatever the butterfly attached itself to. And what I get is a very strong energy that that chrysalis is being blown in the wind as well. And that's where it doesn't feel safe, or that's where the energy of not feeling safe and not feeling protected is coming in. It's like, it's a little bit too windy for your liking as you go through this transformation. It's a little bit too turbulent. And I can certainly agree with that in terms of the energies lately. They're sort of all over the place. With retrograde, it's forcing things in our past that we thought were healed to come back up, to be looked at again, to be truly healed. Okay, so this might be one of the areas that needs to be looked at again this week for whoever's seeing this message, having to do with courage, right? Having to do with sort of accepting that you are protected divinely, and that whatever happens or transpires in your life is for a reason, to sort of teach you a lesson or to invite a new perspective. And so it feels very strongly like that chrysalis is, oh wow, I didn't even notice, like even with the snowdrop, like that chrysalis is hanging on by its little thread, and it needs to sort of have faith that it's not going to be blown away despite all the wind coming in. So your challenge this week is to trust that you are protected. Trust that you will not be harmed throughout this, whatever this situation is. What I find interesting is courage was beneath protection, right? This is 21, adding to 3, and then we actually have the number 3, but we also have butterflies here. Okay, so have hope and courage is what I'm going to say are your challenges this week. To have courage to speak your mind, to have courage to know that you are safe and you are protected even in situations that are turbulent and don't feel that way. Okay, feeling called to switch decks again. Advice. What is the advice to overcome these challenges? For whoever might come across this message. It's too many. That was anticipation. Advice. What is the advice for whoever might come across this message, please, Spirit? Truth and clarity. Okay, communication. Okay. So we have communication coming out and then productivity at the bottom of the deck. What's funny is I sort of see this bee card. Yes, bees are busy bees and, you know, doing the work, but I see it as happiness as well. And I also get the same sort of happy feeling from these sunflowers, which often represent happiness. In this particular instance, though, the message that's coming out pretty clearly is the way that you overcome feeling like you don't have support, feeling like you don't have protection, the way that you can sit in this hopeful energy and sort of allow yourself to be taken on the wind is by over communicating. Okay, and that's funny because during Mercury in retrograde, we often say that communication is blocked. And so that often causes people to sort of keep to themselves, or not, or hold off on communicating something until later. But the opposite advice is what's coming out here. Okay, you're being encouraged to even speak about what makes you feel like you're not being protected. Okay, weird. Where is that coming from? Oh wow, hello. So there's a black bird that just came up on the garbage can behind me, and it's very much made itself known. I don't know if you heard that on the microphone, but it just like made this very loud squawk sound. So yeah, it feels like you sort of might even have to defend your position and communicate your position to build this courage. It feels like this is a group, so obviously this is the number 3 on the card. There are 3 butterflies and then one over here in the background, but in the foreground there are 3 butterflies and we have these yellow leaves. There are also 3 mushrooms here, so it feels very much like this is a group situation. Like the transformation and the hope energy that we started the reading with is the hope and the expectation that everything will work out. That everything will work out, put it that way. Very interesting. So I turned around to look a couple times because I noticed that that bird came back, and it actually jumped into the trash can and jumped out with an orange and flew away. So whatever you're hoping to gain from this transitionary period, whatever you were hoping to, whatever energies you were hoping to move into, the more you communicate about that, the more you sort of express your expectation, the more willing the other people in that group and the more willing the universe will be to deliver those expectations to you, to deliver the outcome that you'd hoped to you. And that doesn't mean you have to sit on, Facebook Live or make videos to say, this is what I hope for, these are my plans, blah, blah, blah. Communicating is just a form of expression. So even if you're writing this in a journal, or you're sitting in meditation with the intention of, sharing out or putting out to the universe, communicating with your guides the outcome that you'd like to see, that will actually help you overcome any feelings of discouragement, any feelings of not being protected. Okay, and maybe what I just got, or just came in right now, was the idea that if you do feel like you're not being supported, or like you're in danger in some way, obviously seek protection physically. But if this is more on an energetic level, which I do feel like it is, or on a spiritual level, this communication card is with the rooster and the sunflowers coming out to say, the earlier that you can rise and speak to your spirit guides, the clearer the messages will be. And one of those messages that you might need to articulate, even though they know it, right, because they're your spirit guides, you might need to articulate, hey, I'm not feeling safe here, I need a little bit more backup, I need a little bit more support. And that's where I feel like this 4th little butterfly is coming in, right? So you have your spirit guides, your team of 3 that are always with you, but if you don't feel safe, or you feel like you could use a little bit more encouragement, they're sending in another guide, another warrior angel is what wants to come through to sort of defend you, to bring this protection back in the upright. Oh wow, this also just came in very clearly, is that the more you connect with your land, and I don't mean that you own land, but I mean the environment around you, the natural external environment around you, the more that you connect with that environment, the stronger the energies of protection and safety and stability are going to come through for you. Okay, so that means going on nature hikes, being out being outdoors and grounding yourself, right? No shoes on the grass, no sneakers, no sandals in the sand. Really getting your energies grounded in and connecting to that support. Okay, let's just get you one lesson card to close out the reading. Again, while the messages are coming in pretty clearly, I'm having a hard time articulating them. And I'm going to chalk it up to retrograde, but this energy itself is very, like I said, on the wind. It feels like there's different currents. Like if you're sitting down on the ground cross-legged, it's slow and it's warm. If you're standing up, it's windy and cold. And if you're like sitting down in a chair, it's sort of in the middle. You don't even feel the breeze. So the energy is sort of everywhere, but that's because things are changing. Okay. An affirmation or a mantra. Love. I commit to the practice of seeing good in all things. Yeah. So this is your advice. Over communicate in the space of love. Over communicate with the intention of sharing your perspective in love. Sharing your perspective, sharing your concerns, sharing your worries, so that somebody in this group of three, whether it be physical people or spiritual guides, so that they can help you to see the good in all things, and they can shift you back into this hope mindset. Okay, the more you communicate even just love and appreciation for your life, the more you'll see the good in all things, the more apparent it will be, the more sunflowers that will bloom, right? Okay, so a little bit all over the place, but that feels like the end of your message. If it resonated with you, please consider giving it a like, comment below. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you haven't already, please consider subscribing for more messages like this. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care.